My stepson said, "You're just here to cover bills. Nothing else." So I canceled the car payment, closed his phone plan, and transferred the remaining balance to his mom's account. He learned fast. Without me, he couldn't even order dinner. My name's Brian. I'm 44. I live in Sacramento, California. And 5 years ago, I made the worst mistake of my life. I tried to build a family where one had already been broken and abandoned. Susan was radiant when I met her. Soft-spoken, sharp-eyed. We met at a fundraiser for a local art program. Her laugh cut through the noise like a warm cord. She had the calm presence of someone who had endured something hard and come out standing. I mistook that for strength. I mistook her quiet for loyalty. And when she told me about her son, Jaden, I didn't flinch. I wanted to prove something to her, to myself. That I could step in where someone else had stepped out. That I could build love out of debt. Jaden was 13 when I met him. Slouched posture, headphones in, eyes fixed on some screen. He had that sunken-eyed teenage detachment, like everything in the world was either a threat or a joke. He didn't smile much, didn't say much, and when he did, the words felt borrowed, like something he'd heard from Shane and was now testing out on me. Shane, the man who left, disappeared when Jaden was 7. No legal custody, no support, but still somehow always there. A specter, a whisper. Jaden would light up when his name came up, like a switch had been flipped. Shane's sending something. Shane's gonna call. Shane said we might visit L.A. And just like that, I'd be erased. It didn't matter that Shane sent nothing but used video games and the occasional $100 bill wrapped in a card from Walgreens. He was still Dad. Meanwhile, I was the one who showed up to parent-teacher meetings, who kept a spreadsheet of his assignments, who spent Sundays checking homework that always got done at school. But I didn't complain. Not then. In those early months, I told myself it would pass. That kids push back. That stepfathers earn respect inch by inch. I was patient. I learned the rhythm of the house. I memorized the layout of his moods. I even gave him space, a rare commodity in a home that felt half empty to begin with. Susan told me not to worry. "He'll come around," she said. "He's just got walls." But walls don't scare me. I grew up with them. I just didn't realize Susan had no interest in helping me break them down. That first year, I covered everything. Quietly, steadily. The rent, the groceries, the utilities, the school supplies. Jaden wanted new cleats? Done. He needed tutoring in algebra? I paid the guy in cash so Jaden wouldn't feel weird. When Susan's hours got cut at the gallery, I picked up the slack without hesitation. I never called it sacrifice. I called it love. Jaden didn't. He called it something else. He never said thank you. Not once. Not for the new Chromebook. Not for the basketball camp I signed him up for when Susan said, "It's too expensive this year." Not for the $2,000 dental bill I covered when his wisdom teeth came in early and wrong. He just took. Like I was the insurance policy they forgot to file paperwork for. Even then, I didn't complain. I told myself, love doesn't keep score, but resentment does. And I kept that ledger in silence. Every time I walked past his room and saw the glow of the PS5, a gift from Shane, I felt the sting. Every time he skipped dinner and said, "I'm going out with friends," I felt it. Every time he posted a photo with Shane's caption underneath, "Best day ever with my dad," I felt it like a stone in my chest. Still, I smiled. I refilled the tank. I showed up. There was one night, maybe a year in, when I offered to help him with his science fair project. He shrugged, said, "Shane knows more about that stuff than you." Then he asked if I could still drive him to Home Depot for materials. I drove him, and I paid. Then, as if rewarding my humiliation, Susan posted a photo on Facebook of the finished project. No mention of me. Just the words, "So proud of my son and the father who inspired this." People say disrespect grows slowly. They're wrong. It's immediate. What grows slowly is the decision to finally act on it. By the time Jaden turned 16, I had paid for his driving lessons, his gym membership, and his second phone after he broke the first one skateboarding without a helmet. I took him to the ER myself, waited 5 hours in a plastic chair, covered the copay, and got him ice cream on the way home. He didn't speak to me once that entire ride. Still, I thought maybe this is just how teenage boys are. But they aren't. Not all of them. Some have the decency to fake it. Jaden didn't even bother. Susan, she was always just neutral. Not cruel. Not distant. Just absent. As if parenting was something that happened beside her. She'd smile when I offered to cover another bill. She'd shake her head. You don't have to. But never with real resistance. I could have stopped at any time. But I didn't. And she knew I wouldn't. Maybe that's what I hate most in hindsight. Not the words. Not the silence. But the quiet assumption that I would keep going. They depended on it. And I enabled it. Still, I remember the moment everything crystallized. It was late 10:40, maybe. I'd finished some client calls and wandered into the hallway for a snack. The lights were low. The house was quiet. Jaden was in the kitchen, phone tucked between shoulder and ear, laughing into it like he was in a movie. He didn't see me, or maybe he did and didn't care. He was talking to someone. I caught the tone first. That mix of sarcasm and mockery only teenagers can perfect. Nah, he's not my real dad. He's just here to pay for stuff. That's it. Just like that. No venom. No anger. Just certainty. That's what gutted me, the casual certainty. Like it wasn't an insult, just a truth too boring to be cruel. I didn't say a word. Didn't clear my throat. Didn't call him out. I turned. Walked back down the hall. Sat in my office. Closed the door. No shaking hands. No yelling. No broken glass. Just one thought. Okay. That was the night I stopped being confused. That was the night I understood what I was in that house. Not a father. Not a mentor. Not even a man. I was an account. A transaction. A necessary background function. And they thought I'd never stop. The next morning I woke before the sun. I didn't make coffee. Didn't shower. Just sat in the still dark of my office and opened a blank document on my computer. I started writing down numbers. Receipts. Expenses. 5 years of being the invisible scaffolding behind their lives. I logged it all. Not to prove a point, not yet. But to remind myself that I hadn't imagined it. That I had been there. Tuition payments. Jaden's private SAT prep course. The used but reliable Corolla I'd co-signed when he turned 17. That car? Still under my name, still on my insurance. Even the tires were mine. Bought last winter when I noticed his were balding. I remembered the $450 gaming chair he circled on Amazon one year, never expecting to get it. Susan said no. She was trying to limit screen time. I bought it anyway, thinking it might build a bridge. He never said thank you. Not once. Just ripped it out of the box and wheeled it past me without eye contact. That night I heard him bragging online. Yeah, my dad got it for me. He meant Shane. I wrote that one down too. Then I added the emergency room bills. There were 4 in 5 years. A broken wrist, a bad allergic reaction, a twisted ankle during practice, and one late-night migraine that Susan was too tired to drive him in for. She nudged me awake. I went. I was always the one who went. College tours? Me. Dorm deposit? Me. Driving to his high school at 6 a.m. Because he forgot a term paper? Me. And the FAFSA form. Jesus. I spent 6 hours trying to untangle that garbage while Susan scrolled Instagram next to me, occasionally muttering, "Did you get to the dependency part yet?" I paid. I filed. I showed up. And Shane? The man who got to keep the title? Let me tell you about Shane. Shane would reappear once or twice a year, usually around Jaden's birthday, always with a gift that cost just enough to make me look cheap by comparison. The PS5, the Beats headphones, that overpriced bomber jacket Jaden wore to school until the sleeves frayed. He'd show up smiling, arms out, like he had returned from war. Jaden would glow. Susan would say, "Don't ruin it, Brian," like I was some jealous ex. Then Shane would disappear again. No calls. No support. No concern when Jaden got sick or missed school or nearly failed a math class. He was the phantom father, weightless, effortless, and somehow still a hero in that house. I remember one afternoon, about 2 years in, when Jaden came home from school buzzing. "Shane's taking me to the Warriors game." I asked when. "Next month," he said. "He already got the tickets." I nodded. "Sounds fun." That game never happened. Shane bailed the night before. Some vague excuse about work. Jaden barely reacted, just shrugged and said, "It happens." Like it was normal. Like it was okay. You know what's not okay? Building your entire adolescence on the shoulders of a man who doesn't even show up, and spitting in the face of the one who does. But no one ever told him that. Not Susan. Not the teachers. Not the therapists. Everyone walked around Jaden like he was made of glass. And me? I was the one sweeping up the shards. I remembered it all. The nights I stayed up late helping him apply to scholarships. The weekends I skipped outings because he needed a ride. The time I gave him cash, $500, to replace a stolen phone. No questions asked. Just gave it to him. Later, I found out the phone wasn't stolen. He sold it to upgrade. Susan just said, "He's figuring things out." So was I. Slowly, painfully, I was figuring it all out. This wasn't a family. It was a performance. I was the understudy who learned every line but never got to step on stage. I had poured myself into a role they never intended to honor. I started seeing patterns I'd ignored, like how Susan never said "our son" when referring to Jaden. It was always "my son" when she was proud, and "your stepson" when she was tired. Her way of reminding me he wasn't really mine, just on loan, conditionally, until I overstepped. I remembered Christmas last year. I'd spent hours building Jaden's new desk in the garage. He wanted a standing setup for better posture. I surprised him with it, custom built, sealed and stained. Susan said, "That's amazing," then followed it with, "Maybe don't make it a big deal though. He doesn't like attention." He never used it. Still sits in the garage. Dusty. And used. Like me. I remembered Shane's birthday text this year. Just a string of emojis. Jaden lit up like he'd been blessed. Spent 20 minutes crafting a response. Susan watched from the kitchen, smiling. That same week, I got Jaden's tires rotated and paid his car registration. Not a word. That's when it started to settle into my bones. The truth I'd buried under patience and pride. Jaden didn't see me. Not really. I wasn't a presence. I was a service. If I disappeared, he'd complain about the inconvenience, not the absence. That's what hurt most. Not the insult. Not the phone call. Not the cold label of "just here to pay for stuff." It was knowing it was true to them. They had decided I wasn't a man. I was a mechanism. So I kept writing. Line by line. Memory by memory. 5 years. Over $120,000. That's what I'd spent propping up a house built on someone else's ghost. And the return? A teenager who laughed behind my back. A woman who let him. A silence that had become the language of our home. I stared at the document. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just leaned back, stared at the ceiling, and whispered for words. Not anymore. Not again. I remembered everything. And I knew what came next. I didn't yell. I didn't slam a door. I didn't write some speech or storm through the house demanding answers. I logged in, one tab at a time. No drama. No explosions. Just control, quiet and surgical. The first thing I did was open the autopay portal for the Corolla. Jaden's car, the one I'd signed for, insured, registered, maintained. It still had my name on the title. Every month I watched $317. 26 disappear from my account to keep that boy moving, to keep him mobile, independent, proud. I clicked the button. Cancel payment. Confirmation. Done. Then his phone. Part of my family plan. Unlimited data, hotspot tethering, insurance. Jaden used it like a lifeline, calls, games, streaming, directions. I paid it all, of course. Susan said, "It's easier that way." Maybe it was. Until it wasn't. I logged into the carrier. Navigated to the user management tab. Line 3, Jaden. I hovered a second. Then, suspend line. Done. His screen would go black the moment the next tower pinged. No more calls. No more texts. No more late-night Discord chats where I became the punchline. Then I moved on to the fun stuff, the things he never thought I tracked. Spotify Premium, mine. HBO Max, mine. Xbox Game Pass, mine. Uber Eats account, linked to my debit. Netflix, DoorDash, Instacart, Twitch subs, all either tied to my card or logged into my family sharing. I spent 30 minutes going through it all. Click, pause, delete, transfer, cut. I moved the Instacart membership over to Susan's card. Same for the phone account. I even left a little note in our shared budgeting app. If I'm just here to pay bills, then you can handle them now. Then I turned off the lights in my office, walked out, and made myself a cup of coffee. Susan called me 20 minutes later. I didn't answer. She called again. Then a third time. Each ring came faster, sharper, like her fingers were trembling. I let them go to voicemail. By the fourth call, I silenced the phone and left it face down. I already knew what was happening in the house. Jaden's dinner, ordered from that overpriced chicken place across town, got declined. I'd seen the charge come through weekly like clockwork. This time, no dice. Card rejected. He tried the backup card. Also mine. I disabled it too. Then his phone dropped. He probably thought it was a glitch. He reset it. Nothing. He tried to call Susan from the landline. She didn't pick up. She was still trying to reach me. Then he went to the car. Key turned. Nothing. I'd stopped the payment but also activated the tracker. Set the immobilizer. Remote access is a beautiful thing when you're still the legal owner. Susan finally texted, "Brian, what is going on? Jaden can't make any calls, his car won't start, and everything is frozen." I stared at the screen. I didn't type anything. I just let her sweat. Jaden had said it so casually, just here to pay for stuff. So that's what I took back. The stuff. What did he have left without it? PS5? A few hoodies from Shane? A stack of unread books and a bedroom that still had posters on the wall from when he was 14? He thought I was replaceable. Now he'd learn what that replacement actually cost. Susan kept calling. I kept ignoring. Eventually, I turned off my phone completely and poured myself a drink. Sat in the backyard. Listened to the quiet. I imagined Jaden pacing in the kitchen, saying things like, "This is illegal," or "He can't just do this." Maybe Susan was defending me. More likely, she was trying to smooth it over, like always. But there was nothing to smooth now. Nothing to explain. I'd done my part. 5 years of parts. The provider, the driver, the tech guy, the tutor, the bank. Now, I was just done. That night, I slept like a man who'd walked out of his own funeral. Light, empty, reborn in a cruel kind of way. I dreamed of silence. The next morning, I opened my laptop again. There were notifications from Susan, emails now. She'd shifted tactics. Less panic. More logic. Subject line, "Can we talk?" The body was shorter than I expected. "Jaden is freaking out. This is really extreme. I get you're upset, but can we please sit down and talk before this becomes worse?" No apology. No accountability. Just a request for calm after years of letting everything burn quietly. I replied with a spreadsheet. No text. No explanation. Just a Google sheet titled, 5 years of financial support for Jaden. Every line item. Every receipt. Every month. Over $120,000. I watched as her little avatar clicked through the document. I imagined her eyes widening, her mouth opening, the silence pressing against her like a rising tide. 10 minutes later, she called again. I answered this time. Her voice was flat, controlled, like she was trying to sound calm, but the cracks were forming. "You went too far," she said. I didn't say anything. "You've made your point, Brian, but this is cruel. You know Shane can't step up. You know he won't." "I do," I said. "Then what do you want me to do?" "I want him to understand what I did for him." Susan sighed. "He's a kid." "No," I said. "He's 18. Old enough to know the value of what he's thrown away. And if not now, then never. Can we meet?" "I'll think about it." I hung up. 3 hours later, Jaden messaged me for the first time in months. No emojis. No jokes. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I didn't get it back then. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I closed the app. Didn't reply. Because what he wanted, what they both wanted, wasn't forgiveness. They wanted the world back the way it was. Comfortable. Easy. Free. But I wasn't their foundation anymore. I wasn't the man who showed up to be mocked in silence. I was gone. And all it took was one sentence spoken casually, like a punch thrown with a smile. He's just here to pay for stuff. No yelling. No slammed doors. Just a switch. And when I flipped it, the house went dark. The next day, Susan came home alone. No keys rattling, no grocery bags. Just silence and tension clinging to her like smoke. She found me in the kitchen, calmly stirring my coffee, phone untouched beside me. He can't get to school, she said. I took a sip. He's panicking. I nodded. Her eyes narrowed. Are you really going to let him fall apart like this? I didn't answer right away. I reached into the drawer by the fridge, pulled out a printed copy of the spreadsheet I'd sent her, and set it on the counter. Read it again, I said. Out loud if you have to. She didn't move. Every dollar, I continued. Every ride. Every form. Every purchase. Every Sunday wasted fixing something he broke. Every trip to the emergency room. Every bill. That was me. I know that. No, I interrupted. You don't. Because if you did, the first time he disrespected me in this house, you would have stopped him. But you didn't. You looked the other way. You minimized it. Her lips tightened. He's a teenager. Teenagers learn, I said. He just did. That silenced her for a moment. Then she switched gears. You're making a point. Fine. But what's your endgame? Do you want him on the street? You want him to hate you forever? I didn't look up. I want to stop bleeding for people who feel nothing when I'm cut. She flinched at that. I let the silence settle. Jaden tried again that night. Another message. I get it. You're hurt. I didn't mean it. I was just messing around. I didn't think you'd actually take it that way. That line, I didn't think you'd actually, told me everything. He didn't think I'd follow through. He thought I was permanent. That my support was like plumbing, invisible and expected. Unseen until it failed. And now that it failed, he didn't want to fix the pipe. He wanted the water back. No apology. Just regret that the faucet stopped running. I stared at his message, then at my reflection in the dark window beside me. My face looked different. Tired. Older. But lighter, too. Less strained. I didn't reply. The days blurred after that. Susan tried to act like things were normal, but the house was a mess of unsaid things. Jaden barely came out of his room. He used Susan's car when she let him. Otherwise, he begged rides from friends. I heard the muffled calls, the voice tightening with desperation. I overheard one call with Shane. Short, clipped, angry. Can you just help this one time? Pause. I'm not asking for everything. Pause. I don't care about the past. Just look. Forget it. Click. That was the sound of Shane folding. That was the sound of Jaden realizing who he really couldn't count on. But it didn't bring him to my door. Not yet. I waited. A week later, I started packing. Susan caught me folding shirts in the bedroom. Where are you going? I don't know. For how long? Does it matter? She didn't speak for a moment. Just watched my hands moving slowly, deliberately. I didn't know he felt that way about you, she said. I stopped folding. He didn't feel anything. That was the problem. She sat on the edge of the bed, her voice low. He's scared. He's ashamed. He doesn't know how to fix this. Then let him learn. You said you didn't want to replace Shane. You said you just wanted to help. I did, I said. And now I'm done helping a house that refuses to stand with me. She reached for my hand, pulled it away. You let him say it, I added. You let him frame me as a bank account, and you said nothing. That silence told him everything he needed to know. I didn't want to make it worse. No, I said. You just didn't want to be uncomfortable. That landed. She looked down, fingers twisting in her lap. I zipped the suitcase and stood. When I stop showing up, maybe then you'll understand what I was holding up. I walked out without another word. I got an Airbnb 30 minutes away. Small, sparse, clean. No photos on the walls. Just quiet. I left my location shared. I wasn't hiding. I just wasn't playing anymore. The first night, Susan didn't call. The second night, she did. I told him, she said. I showed him the spreadsheet, the emails, everything. I said nothing. He cried. I nodded, though she couldn't see it. He said, you hate him. I don't, I replied. I just don't love him enough to let him keep stepping on me. She was quiet for a long time. Do you still love me? She finally asked. I don't know. The silence that followed was colder than the night. That weekend, Jaden texted again. This time longer. I know I screwed up. I really didn't understand what you did for me. I didn't get it. I thought you'd always just be there, like a default. I know it's not your job. I know I've been a jerk. I'm sorry, really. I read it 3 times. It was better, but still not enough. Because what he wanted was relief, not change. He wanted the car back, the phone back, the food deliveries, the rhythm of comfort. He didn't want me back. He wanted what came with me, so I didn't answer. That Sunday, Susan showed up at the Airbnb. She looked worn, makeup undone, no performance left. I can't fix this, she said, standing in the doorway. No, I replied. You were supposed to prevent this. She stepped inside slowly. I thought you were overreacting at first, she admitted. But now, I see it. The vacuum. You were doing so much and we treated it like oxygen. Like it was just supposed to be there. I let her speak. She needed to say it more than I needed to hear it. I tried calling Shane again, she said. Told him Jaden needs help. You know what he said? I waited. He said, that's not my problem anymore. I nodded. Susan wiped her face with the back of her hand. He's scared, Brian. He doesn't have anyone. I met her eyes. Neither did I. And that was the truth. I'd stood in that house for 5 years alone, holding up a boy who wouldn't look me in the eye, loving a woman who let me carry it all, funding a dream I wasn't part of. And they both let it happen. Now they were in freefall. And I was finally on solid ground. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't vindictive. I was just finished. When Susan left that night, she didn't say goodbye. The next day, Jaden's car got towed. Defaulted registration. Missed payments. No insurance. I got a notification from the DMV. I clicked one last button. Release ownership. And just like that, the last piece of my investment drove away without me.